Okay, welcome back. This is the second part of basic ionic compounds. I'm going to continue on and look for some combinations now that they don't just balance in a 1-to-1 ratio. So you have to add as many positives or negatives to try to get them to balance. So if I look at number 3 here, I've got aluminum and chloride, which would be chlorine. So I'm going to look up the cation, which is aluminum. And on my periodic table, aluminum falls here, and it has a plus charge of 3. The negative was chlorine, which we remember here from the first question has a -1. So if I write down what is in this compound, I'll start with my cation, which has a positive 3 charge. So just one atom right now is holding a +3. So how many negative chlorines am I going to have to add to counter it? I'm going to have to add 3. So I would have Cl with a minus, another Cl, and another Cl. So how I would write that as a formula is I always start with the symbol, A(l) for aluminum. Now because there's only one, I don't write anything to the lower right side of it. I leave it. Then I write chlorine, a C with a little L, and because there are 3 of them, I'm going to write a lower subscript number 3. So that indicates that there are 3 chlorine, and because there's no number here, we just assume there's 1 aluminum, and that makes sense. Okay, sodium and bromine. There, I know offhand that they're a +1 and a -1, so they would be in a 1-to-1 ratio. Calcium has a +2 charge and oxygen has a -2 charge, so I know that would be in a 1-to-1 ratio as well. But lithium and nitride here, which is nitrogen, I know they don't cancel each other off in a 1-to-1 ratio, so we'll have a look at them. So lithium, I know I'm looking up metals. So left of the staircase, finding lithium. Lithium is an alkali metal, meaning it's in group 1. Okay, right there. And nitrogen is 3 away from the noble gases. So nitrogen has a -3 charge. Lithium will have a +1 charge. So we'll work with those. Okay, so I'll write as the positives here, I know I have at least 1 lithium, and I can write the negative nitrogen -3, but I see right now they're not balanced, so I'm going to have to add more of the cations. So if I add another one, well, now I've got 2 positives, so I'm going to need to add 1 more. All right, so this is what makes up the compound. Now when naming it, I always start with the positive, the cation symbol, and how many are there? There are 3 present. So it will have a little number subscript 3. And there is only 1 nitrogen, so it will just have no number beside it. And that's it. I could put it state of matter. All ionic compounds are solids at room temperature. Okay, let's try one more, aluminum and oxygen. Okay, if we remember before, aluminum's charge is +3, and oxygen has a -2. It is 2 away from the noble gases. All right, I've got a messy little periodic table here, but it is 2 away, 1 and 2. So it's going to have a -2. Now, one of the ways that you can balance them is you can do that kind of little switcheroo method, which is like a little shortcut, where I would take this number 2 and I would put it behind the aluminum symbol. And I would take the 3 and I would put it behind the oxygen symbol, so that I end up getting something like this. Al2O3. Now that seems a little bit strange to do, but to check your work, you can add them up. So just to look for space here, what this means is I've got 2 aluminum atoms. Each of them are plus 3s, plus 3 and plus 3. So here I've got a maximum of plus 6. In terms of the negative ones, I've got 1, 2, and 3 oxygens. And each one of them are a minus 2. And that gives me an overall negative amount of minus 6. So this works. That little crisscross method will work almost every time. The only time that the crisscross method does not quite finish it is if it can be reduced further. Okay, so with ones and something else, it always works. We could have done it for the lithium and nitrogen one quite nicely. I'll just show you here. Lithium is a plus 1 and nitrogen is a minus 3. So we could have taken this number and put it right behind Li, and we can take this number, which is 1, and we don't write ones, so just like before, we would have Li3N. So the shortcut is great, but again, you've got to learn that balancing, and if you don't understand the big picture of positives canceling the negatives, then the shortcut can just be extra confusing. So I hope this helps a little bit. Continue to ask questions. All right, take care.